Hey there, I am back with another deck review, and today we're going to be looking at Eternal Reign playing cards, the latest Kickstarter project from RiffleShuffle. These decks were designed by Indonesian-based graphic designer Dhamas Adhitya, and were, in true RiffleShuffle fashion, produced and distributed to backers really quickly after the end of the campaign. Within a month or two, they were shipping out. Pretty typical for RiffleShuffle. They usually start producing the decks well before the end of the campaign, which is a nice touch. Make sure that they get into the hands of backers much quicker, kind of cuts down on that anticipation time. The deck itself, though, was designed around a fictional kingdom. The four suits represent the four different kingdoms. Two of them are kingdoms of the living, and two of them are kingdoms of the undead. Really nice fantasy touches all throughout the decks. It does come in two different colors. Over here on the left, you have the Ruby Empire deck, and on the right, you have the Sapphire Kingdom. The Ruby Empire represents the living, the Sapphire Kingdom represents the undead. So we're going to take a look at both of these. We'll start over here with the Ruby Empire deck. So the tug case is this really nice matte finish, deep maroon coloring to it, but it is covered almost entirely all throughout with two colors of foil. You have that bright red along with the gold. The red and gold is a great classic combination, and lots of detail and embossing and foiling to go around on this deck. On the front, you have Eternal Reign written in a large banner across the top, and the center portrait here is one of the kings of the living kingdoms. You can see him there in kind of in profile, beautiful with the crown at the top and kind of the radiant lines around him. A very intense stare on his face. He's flanked on the two sides by two crowned lions that are up on their hind legs. And at the bottom, you have the playing cards banner as well. Lots of flourishes in red, almost giving the look of licks of flames going all the way around. And then extra little details in gold. You'll find all kinds of things as you go through. You've got the goblet at the top, a couple of snakes making their way up the sides. Of course, those lions on the side, as well as a large sword with a snake wrapped around the hilt at the bottom. Really beautiful front to the tuck case. And comparing real quick with the Sapphire version of it, you have the same design, but obviously the foil's been swapped out now for kind of this blue. So you got the dark forest green background with this blue-green sort of foil to it. Really beautiful. Whereas on the red, it kind of gave the look of flames. Here it almost looks like the same design, looks like waves of water that are whipping around. Really cool kind of effect to get the flames in the water. And then this time the profile in the center is of one of the skeletal kings of the undead. And I love how they're facing in opposite directions. If you position the decks, it's almost like they're staring at each other in challenge. But otherwise, details all the way around are the same. Looking at the sides of both tucks, just says premium playing cards with a couple more goblets and extra flourishes featured. Other side, RiffleShuffle Playing Card Company. Bottom has your ad copy for Dhamas Adhitya, who designed the deck, as well as RiffleShuffle. And at the top just says Eternal Reign, and it's covered up by that tuck seal. The back's going to be a foiled and embossed version of the back design of the cards. So you can see that with the foil glinting on that, but we'll look at some of the details of that in a second. I will call out, you'll see here, some of the foiling is not quite as clean as I would have hoped. There's a lot of fine detail in this one, but like you can see here, they weren't able to get quite as much detail in the cutout of the Eternal Reign there in that gold banner. That said, it is still a really beautiful effect with the foiling. Really nicely done tuck case. They are finished out with a custom tuck seal in kind of this postage stamp style, foiled up tuck seal. You have the ER for Eternal Reign with the sword going down, lots of flourishes around it. And it is numbered to the edition of the deck, which is 2000. So I've got number 842 here. Really tiny, hard to read those. And then on the red one, mine got a little bit scratched up. That happens with these foiled tuck seals, but I got 151 out of 2000 on the Ruby deck. So there are the two decks, but let's open it up. On the interior flap, extra little flourishes there on that flap, skulls on the inside. And then one of the absolute highlights of this one is the interior printing. So you have foil all down the interior. At the top, it just looks like, oh, you have a goblet and some snakes and some flourishes, and you can see more in there. It's hard for me to quite get this on camera, but I'm gonna put a picture up here where you can see the beautiful scene that's contained inside of the two kings that living in the undead, kind of toasting each other almost in challenge in this grand hall. Really beautiful design on the interior of the tuck. Love that design they printed all the way through. That's featured on both the ruby and the sapphire versions of the deck and finish out a magnificent tuck case. Really absolutely one of the highlights of this one. So that is the tuck case, but let's take a look at the cards, and we will of course start with the ruby deck. I'll start with the back design here, and here it is. Features lots of different shades of red. You have a really deep maroon in the back and then more of a crimson, as well as the gold now has been swapped out with this sort of orange yellow or a kind of orange gold color. Really nice ornate back design. It's a little bit hard to see some of the details. I think the contrast between that maroon and crimson, not quite as high as I would like, but you can still make out lots of beautiful designs. You have the two skulls in the middle. Each of them has a sword driven right through their heads and then meeting in the center with this sort of sun pattern in the back. You have the banners that say Eternal Reign on either side, snakes coiled up the sides, and then the four lions flanking on the left and right of the deck. The four corners here all feature these hands that are holding goblets, and if you look closely, you'll see that one of the hands is the hand of the living and the other one is from the undead king, and you can see that skeletal hand there. The entire design reflected on the other side to complete out a two-way back design, and it's finished with a nice thin white poker border that's broken up with just little bits here that give it a little bit of shape, so it's not quite a hard white border around the edge. So really nice back design. Wish that the red deck, the ruby deck, had a little bit more contrast to it, but still nice nonetheless. Now, as far as extra cards, you do get two jokers. They are identical. They feature the exact same design, and it features this two-sided joker. One side is the red jester wearing the mask, and you can see his kind of devious or mischievous grin there. And then the other side is the blue joker, and from his mouth, you can see that this is the jester from the undead. So he's got the skeletal mouth, little skeleton there on the tip of his staff there as well. I have Joker written in the corner, one side in red, one side in black, and then repeated on the other card. So there's your two jokers. Into the cards now. All four aces are going to feature these nice large spade pips. The ace of spades, though, is the power ace. You have the Eternal Reign banner, and then this flourish of kind of sea blue waves that are reaching up around a large trident down the center. You get the little spade right in the center, and the waves, of course, form that classic spade shape. Has RiffleShuffle playing card company at the bottom, and a fancy kind of calligraphy inspired font on the index in the corner, as well as a small custom pip that you can just barely make out there. Very small pip, but really nice ace of spades. And then as you go to the number cards, they're all pretty standard. They feature smaller pips, and they are custom pips, very, albeit slightly. They do feature kind of notches and splatters to give it the look almost as if they were, drawn or stamped onto the paper. I will say one small complaint on this is all of the spade pips across all of the numbers are exactly the same, meaning all those notches and splatters are going to be in the exact same position if you compare these side by side. Definitely takes away from the natural feel of it a little bit, but nothing too bad. I think it's still a nice touch to have those custom pips. Otherwise, the numbers, pretty standard. And then you get into the quartz, and these are beautifully illustrated. Tons of detail through these. The black court cards, the spades and the clubs, are all going to represent the kingdom of the undead. And you'll see they're done in these sort of blue and yellow colors. Really a nice kind of very fitting color scheme for the undead. And all of the characters are in these two-way style, kind of an oval shape to all of them with the bodies there, leaving a little bit of negative space around the edges of the deck. And I love that they're all holding kind of something unique, a little bit of a unique weapon. This one has this kind of bizarre looking pick, scythe, axe, not really sure what that is, in his hands. The queen has a torch with a blue flame, and then the king holding a trident. So kind of unique implements in their hands compared to what you'd see in a classic deck, but really beautifully drawn, and then all with their skeletal faces. So there's the spade courts. I said all of the aces are going to feature a nice large pip. So here's the ace of diamonds featuring a sword down the center and the flourishes finishing the diamond shape. Now done in a classic red, kind of maybe a deeper, slightly maroon color to that. And then through the diamond number cards. And then here are the diamond courts. So the Kingdom of the Living, which is a little bit of a color change. Those blues have now been replaced with reds. So you have that red mixed with that orange, yellow, gold color. And all of the faces now are of course living. So they have flesh and bone. And again, kind of holding unique implements. You have the dagger in the jack's hands, or this sort of magical staff, if you will, with the diamond atop it on the Queen of Diamonds. As you look through all the court cards, you'll find whatever their suit is, you'll find that all over their outfit. So you'll see here diamonds all up and down the jack's outfit there. So lots of extra little details, and even little diamonds in the hilt of the dagger. And that's kind of repeated on all of these. So there's your diamond number card or diamond court cards. And then your club court cards feature one of my favorites, which is the Queen of Clubs here. I love that fan in her hand with the clubs at the end of it. Really cool look to that one. But there are your 3 club court cards, the axe and the hammer and the king and the jack's hands. And then down through the club number cards, here's your ace of clubs featuring a large axe with the flourishes around it to finish out the club. And then your heart court cards, back to the land of the living, finishing out with the heart number cards and the ace of hearts with the crossed daggers in the center. Really beautiful. Now, as far as handling of the deck, handles really nicely. These are not printed by one of the typical printers you'd be used to. These are actually printed by the Taiwan playing card company on their luxury stock. It handles in fans really well, has a nice feel to it, nice sturdy feeling card with a good snap to it, so no complaints on the handling. Maybe clumps a little bit compared to like a USBCC deck, but nothing too egregious by any means. Still a really nice handling deck. So do like that. The tucks themselves, which are really the highlight, are printed by Gambler's Warehouse. So you get a different printer for the tucks and the cards themselves. So nice handling deck as well. Now let's take a quick look at the Sapphire deck just for comparison. It is mostly the same. So a lot of the same details you're going to see throughout. We already saw the differences on the tuck case. The faces of the cards are exactly the same. There's going to be no differences on these. Court cards, number cards, aces, all the same as before, but you do get a different design to the back design. I actually like this one better. The Sapphire features kind of a color swap with kind of a sea green with that deep, almost forest green, a little bit of blue to it in the background. And I'll say for me, definitely provides a good bit more contrast when you compare it to the Ruby deck. So for me, I like the Sapphire version better than the Ruby. I usually like red decks, but I think the Sapphire pulls it off better. So that's it. That is the only real difference in the decks is going to be that back design. Now, as far as uses of the deck, for me, it's a little bit highly custom to want to use for Magic or even cardistry, a lot going on with it. So for me, this one stands up as an art deck more than anything. Great collector's deck. Those tucks are going to look great on any shelf, but also a really nice functional deck for a nice gameplay as well. So gameplay and art are really where this is going to find its home to me. Nice, easily usable, nice readable indices in the corner, recognizable courts. Just going to be a great deck to spice up gameplay in addition to being a collector's deck. So that's it. That is my look at the Eternal Reign decks from RiffleShuffle. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to stay tuned on RiffleShuffle's website if you want to pick some up for yourself. They're not for sale there yet, but I'm sure they will be soon, whatever's left out of the Kickstarter edition. So hope you enjoyed this look. Make sure to subscribe for more deck reviews and unboxings, and I'll see you for the next one.